I have signed up for something far beyond my comprehension. My face when I am now the lab rat of a nerdy phenomenon with a freak side.
Names? They don't have names.
Look at the jungle truck. Oh, that looks phenomenal.
LGBT community. I invite you, Asmongold, to read up. The guy's name was Sam Nordquist. He was 24 years old. He's dead now. He was tortured. He was murdered. Never did anything wrong. Except.
So you're telling me that there's a person who was gay that got killed? That's crazy. I would have never believed that. Wow. I guess every gay person is right about everything now. Great argument.
Have the confidence, the bones to be who he is.
Yep.
But, I guess that's not good enough for you.
Who is this guy?
Asmongold. He doesn't pass the cool check. That's unfortunate for him because he's dead.
What do you think? I'm like spamming a W because some random guy got killed because he's gay? Why would I do that? That's insane. What? Who is this?
Now, I wonder if someone like Asmongold, seriously, I wonder if he is.
Russian economy is on the brink of collapse, and in 180 days, that collapse may actually begin. Why? Because the Trump administration just said that they want a permanent peace deal in 180 days. Listen to it yourself.
Well, when is this thing going to end? Are we going to come back in a year on the Munich conference in 2026 and say, we're going to study this for another year and we're going to think about it? No, we're talking in time. And any of you that work for Donald J. Trump need to understand I'm on Trump time. And Trump time means he asks you to do this job today and he'll want to know tomorrow, why isn't it solved? So we're working from a timeline. We're saying, and I use the time publicly of 100 days and back to make sure that the parties are involved. We get to a degree of separation. We get to a degree, and this is not confirmed. You go to a ceasefire first or peace treaty first, but you want to make sure that it's lasting, it's sustainable. You ensure the sovereignty of Ukraine, and you ensure that once this thing stops, it never starts again. Or the consequences are going to be enormous on either side. So this is the process we're building. I'm going in next week in Ukraine, and then we're going to kind of compare notes when we come out. When I come out of Ukraine, go into the Oval Office, talk to the president, saying, this is what the alliance says. This is what they see. This is how they see what a sustainable peace looks like. This is what they talk about. What is, when we talk about secure long-term borders, what does it look like? And then you kind of compare notes, say, okay, now we've got a kind of a framework that we can really work at that we've never had before.
Like always, be sure to hit the like button down below. YouTube has a bad habit of sometimes suppressing our videos, so your likes help us out tremendously in the algorithm. And let's start. Now, of course, before someone goes down and comments down below, I know the goal is 180 days. That doesn't really mean that they will achieve peace in 180 days. After all, this war has been going on for more than 11 years. So it's not something that's easy to solve. But as many of you guys may already know, Putin has loads of reason to not negotiate peace. He wants to
정답! 저희 5개 가겠습니다. 5개.
아니야.
괜찮아.
자신감 갖고 꽂아.
나왔으면 좋겠다, 지코야.
꽂을 때 제일 떨려 저거. 2개다 2개. 나갔다. 했어.
됐다.
됐다. 오케이!
근데 이거 어려워, 맞추기 어려워.
이거 어려워.
만능 아티스트 하동훈 여기에 정답. 만능 아티스트 하동훈n 여기에 정답.
아니다.
아니야.
뭔 소리야?
아티스트란 말이 2000년에 많이 쓰지 않았어.
방수야, 조금만 생각을 해야지. 그래. 감사합니다. 조급했어. 방수야.
천재다. 만능 아티스트가 아니라고?
진짜 최악이다, 최악.
만능 아티스트 하동훈 아니지?
나 제가 할까요?
어? 아니야. 해야지 계속 무슨 소리야. 계속 해야지. 발 시원하네.
잠깐 이거는 좀 제재를 해주셔야 되는 거 아닙니까?
아, 왜요? 너무 시원해. 나 왜?
왜 어차피 자기 얼굴에 붙는
어차피 내
건데.
얼굴에 보일 건데 왜? 좋네.
아, 진짜. 최악이다, 최악이야.
Fine, I will not. That's always a problem. This is going top lane. Oh no, it's gonna be a hard line. Oh god. Shit. So screwed, bro.
My flame lights your trail. Indeed.
Guys, what do women do that give you the ick? She's a nurse. Friday night, she's working to 9 p.m. Hadn't gamed in a while or spoken to my brother and friend, so we set up a gaming night that night, and she was aware of it. She gets home around 9:30 p.m. Says she's too tired to cook. She cooks a lot, though, so I'm not saying she's lazy. They want to go grab some food and asked me if I could bring her home. I politely declined, stating I had a few drinks and that I already had plans with my friends. She was upset at it. We broke up a few days later, and this was one of the 2 reasons she gave me. I failed her test to show I cared, I guess. This girl thinks him driving intoxicated is both an A+ move and more important than her double-handed dishonest crap. I will take you at your word. If there's nothing wrong, there's nothing wrong. If you want to go shower and you're telling me about it, cool. I'll make sure I don't run any water. You don't want anything to eat, then you don't get any of mine. If you tell me you're broken, I will believe you and make plans accordingly, hoping you sort your crap out, etc. Ad literally nauseum. After all, you don't want me to assume and treat you like you're a liar, so deal with it. Story 3. A lot of the things in here are toxic traits that anyone could have. But there's one thing I will say that is 100% related to gender. My wife thought for a while that I was a misogynist because of my very few social conflicts over the years. They have overwhelmingly been with women. But during my self-reflection, because only a great fool ignores a spouse's opinion, something occurred to me. I've never been spoken to by a man the way several women have spoken to me when we disagreed on something. A man knows that if he puts on a condescending voice and belittles another man, he's likely to be punched in the face. Because a lot of us have been punched in the face for it. But that consequence never comes to women, because we're taught to never hit them. So my ick is women who, without even realizing it, misuse their position as protected people to attack and denigrate others, especially since they are the same people to cry that they're victims of misogyny. Story 4. Probably the way they say, or in the past have said, that they'll support me and help and be there, yada yada. And the first sign of weakness and vulnerability you show, accidental or not, then they start distancing themselves. Maybe in a way when they don't truly know what they actually want. The quantity, not the quality. Don't want a man that's going to be equal and 50-50 and split the bill. Acts vulnerable and can't control his emotions, and a majority don't like a man that gets defeated by something. Whether it's another dude physically or otherwise. A mental health crisis, a financial crisis. Show any of these things to your run-of-the-mill woman you'd think you'd like to make your wife, and she will look for an exit strategy once the dust's settled. The vast majority of women have said, you can talk to me about how you really feel. And if you're lucky, you get to end the conversation and the collapse of your relationship will happen slowly, but in time. Or you can have this conversation, end it with an argument because it's not about her or she thinks it is. The majority of women in this day and age don't give a crap about men. And they either don't hear them or don't listen, period. That's an ick. Then again, men, dudes, bros, stop putting these women in a freaking pedestal and work on yourselves in the meantime. Don't chase, delete Tinder, work out, and find peace in yourself. You're looking for something no one in this world can give you except for yourself. You'll know when to ask someone on a date or if they like to get coffee or whatever it is you're thinking about doing. Story 5. And they get mad at me for trying to help. I work in a big box store and it is customary to help people out, especially when lifting something heavy. But this one girl got so mad at me for trying to help because she thought I was belittling her. I literally offer the same amount of help to every guy. I'm cool if you're a feminist, but don't be toxic about it. You're a human before you're a female. We're all humans. We all need help at times. To clarify, this was help loading a tub and wall surrounds. I work in the department and she does not. The guy in my department all team lifts these things because they're large and heavy. She accepted help, but was just a pill about it. Story 6. Assumption that we know what we did that was wrong and projection. Maybe it is just me, but when I do something wrong, I never attempt to be hurtful or be mean in any capacity, but sometimes it happens. I would like to be told in a reasonable manner that I have upset them. Maybe, just maybe, instead of bottling it up for days on end, hoping that I will work it out, just tell me, like an adult, what is wrong and how I upset you. I don't really have the intuition to always know what I've done that has upset you. I don't get annoyed by people that easily, but when I do, you bet your back I'll say something. And sometimes people have gotten unreasonably angry at me for quite minor things. Going into another room while they're cooking dinner so I can quickly finish off fixing something, only to get a stern talking to about not listening, even when I've just said I'm going to the next room to finish fixing X. I feel they're clearly feeling some emotion that has been brought up from this action, but they aren't sharing this issue and instead lash out at me. Just talk to us. Please be less cryptic. Some mysteries are fun, but not when there are anger and guilt involved. Story 7. I was intimately inexperienced, and she wanted full, unprotected intimacy. Was very pushy about it. She knew I was a mistreatment victim. She ended up trying to cheat on me with a friend. He shut her down. She succeeded with another within a day, and he knocked her up. Then proceeded to badmouth me to everyone we knew for a while that I never put out. She dumped me over text on my birthday in the midst of all this, before my friend could even tell me about her cheating attempt. This was over the course of just 2 days. She has a kid with that ex-friend who got arrested some few years ago. My ex and I have had a few adult conversations since then and ended up somewhat amicable. She was able to learn from her mistakes, and I learned from it all too. The reason I include this is because my experiences weren't unique. The amount of men I've talked to who were pushed or shamed into activities at the risk of being publicly outed for being inexperienced or uncomfortable depresses me deeply. Too many people I've spoken to have been able to relate to or empathize with my experience, and all of them share the same trait, myself included. You've been made fun of for it, like it's a joke. Story 8. So I had a terrible weekend, and by the end I was disgusted and found her repulsive. Butch came over to stay the weekend. Cool. Early on I noticed she would walk over to where my alcohol was, grab the bottle and just take a quick swig. I told her to get a glass. She continued not to. Any drink she opened, took like 2 drinks, then didn't drink anymore. By the end left almost full soda cans, bottles of water. Went to eat out and got a beer. Everything. On the last day she was here, she popped one of my champagne bottles open at like 9 a.m. I yelled at her from my room. "What the heck are you doing? Stop drinking." She felt sick the last day from all the crap she drank the night before and that morning. She was extremely sloppy. So I handed her a canned drink, said to be careful not to spill it. First sip, saw her take a drink and see it run down the side of her mouth and at the bottom of the can. Placing it on the table, getting her hands and table all sticky. Left crumbs everywhere she ate. When we got in my car, was very touchy, putting her filthy hands in the ceiling, side window, and front window. I just couldn't believe how much of a slob she was. I didn't even mention her getting belligerent in the lift and getting us kicked out, yelling for no reason. There's a major drinking problem and didn't realize it until it was too late. Story 9. Psychopathy in general. My ex would get extremely hammered. I would go to bed trying to avoid her. She would stay up all night, turning lights on and off. She would dump cold water on me while sleeping, slamming doors, etc. We were married for 21 years. Not exactly sure what changed. I know she struggled with substances. She would drink liquor straight from the bottle on a regular basis. Amazingly, she has custody of her children. I showed the court system videos of her behavior. They didn't care. It must have been my fault. She got to keep the house and almost every asset, while I was put on the street with nowhere to go. She refused to work while we were married. I honestly have spousal PTSD. We've been separated for almost 2 years and she still tries to torture me. So my short answer is, if you're a schmuck, you give me the ick. Story 10. Constantly wanting equality but not the responsibility that comes with the privilege you want. This is especially true for women in the military. If a woman gets deployed and doesn't want to be there, she can legit get herself knocked up by one of the male soldiers and get sent home, but the guy's got to stick it out. If a woman becomes pregnant, it's not an issue. Men could get an Article 15 for a sunburn. A few years back, 2008, I think a female soldier successfully petitioned to be taken off a deployment because she was a single mom. Single military dads get no such treatment. Women have far more luxuries than men. They have better odds in custody court, can get special grants or loans for simply being a woman. There isn't a loan for being a man. There's hundreds of women's shelters. 0 men's shelters, but ain't no women trying to protest to have men a safe place to go after they got their crap rocked by a cruel significant other. Women can hurt men and get lesser punishment than if a man were to strike a woman. Women can allege mistreatment, whether true or false, and have a man locked up. Men can't do that. Sorry, I went on a tangent. If I get a sunburn, can I identify as a woman and get a lighter sentence? Asking for a friend who's very pale. Story 11. Trans dude here. Now, honestly, this is likely less a woman issue than a neurotypical issue. It just so happened to be most pronounced in the women in my family. Having been raised as a girl most of my life, something I never understood was the expectation to be able to read minds. Almost literally. My mother and many of her friends and other family members had this thing where you were just supposed to know when they were upset, what they were upset about, and how to fix it, even if you weren't the one who did it. They just sigh really loudly and I'd stop whatever I was doing and my heart would start racing. Oh crap, what did I do this time? I just woke up. Did I leave something out? What happened? And if we didn't guess right, including if we had to ask what's wrong, we'd spend the next 30 minutes to an hour getting our ass chewed out. We were just supposed to know how they wanted chores done, even if they hadn't been explained. It was always common sense. Didn't make growing up with undiagnosed autism any easier. Now older, transitioning with my diagnosis and several friends like me, we're all in agreement that this expectation is stupid. Story 12. Embracing the person who asks the other out for a date should be the one who pays idea. You aren't fooling us. We all know men ask women out 99% of the time. It's a cop-out that sounds warm and fuzzy and fair on the outside, but results in the same thing of men always paying. It just makes you look cheap. Some men will put you into the wants a free meal category. The crazy thing is that most men are fine paying as long as you legitimately offer to pay. That's all we're looking for. Just someone to be considerate to us. You don't have to invent some convoluted logic to justify you not paying the bill. Just offer to us. That's all you have to do and we'll be like, she's cool, I'll pay. Story 13. I recently came out of a 9-year relationship where this kind of thing was standard practice. She got so comfortable giving me the silent treatment it slowly became permanent. She had some really serious mental health issues from a very troubled upbringing that she just refused to deal with. I tried to support her. I had all of the empathy for her, and all it did was drag me down to the place she wanted to stay. Misery. Toxic negativity. That's all she knew. It wasn't too long before I was completely broken and had no fight left in me. Every now and again I'd break and either give her the silent treatment back or worse, just verbally attack her and get it all off my chest, which she would then use as ammunition for another month-long bout of silence and disinterest. I just learned to accept it and find something to entertain myself by the end. We probably should have broken up a long time before we did, but I was just too weak to pull the trigger. Eventually, we got to a point where we were constantly finding excuses to have a go at each other, and as she experienced a bit of what it's like to feel hated within a relationship, she became really, really difficult. Staying out super late or not coming home. Not sure, she was getting into substances and partying, heavily flirting with anyone within our friendship group, constantly complaining about me to her friends and family and doing everything she could to make me out to be a villain. It had become a contest to see who could be the biggest schmuck, but only one of us was trying to win. When we finally broke up, she called my mother and told her she felt she was in danger and that I'd gone off the rails on substances. Never laid a finger on her in 9 years. Never threatened any kind of violence, hadn't taken any substances for at least a decade. Then as I left, she went on this massive rant about how I'd spent years gaslighting her into thinking she's depressed. She was depressed. Had been since early childhood, but her parents had never noticed, and she just learned to deal with it. It was very clear to me very early in the relationship that she's suffering from depression, and after learning about her past, we had countless tearful conversations where she would open up properly and see the situation she was in and admit she needs help. But she would never get to the point of being able to actually call someone or speak to a professional. The day we broke up was one of the hardest days of my life. But within a week, I felt so much better. The anxiety and pressure of dealing with her mood swings still affects me today, but I'm quite good at recognizing it. I've learned to use that as a tool. Financially, not spending all my money on crap for her to try to make her happy was a massive bonus to my mental health, too. And for the first time in almost a decade, I bought myself new clothes. It's been almost 2 years since we broke up. I still think about her a lot, and I've not found myself comfortable enough to start looking for a new partner yet, but I'll get there one day, I hope. Lol, sorry for the long rant, y'all. Story 14. So I was talking to this girl a while ago. She left a great first impression, and the second day was a movie night at her place. I don't mind a bit of messiness. Heck, we all get a bit lazy from time to time. But this girl's flat was a freaking bomb site. It reeked of cat mess. There was food spilled on the floor and presumably left there, dirty clothes everywhere, and in a state of absolute disarray. Never thought it would give me the ick as much as it did, but it was enough for me to see that this was the norm, and I wanted nothing to do with it. I've never dated anyone, ever. Just never had the time for it. I realized that my first dip into the water wasn't ideal, and it hasn't put me off trying, but Jesus. This lack of effort and presentation a big no. That, and I guess if anyone says they're going through a phase, not a chance. Get that away from me. I don't want my thing covered with the 20 guys before me. Story 15. Not taking ownership of literally anything they've done wrong. Getting angry and deflecting must take so much more energy than just saying, I'm sorry I did that. Condemning my interests and hobbies. You don't need to do them too, but there's no reason to crap on them. Being annoyed when I'm not with them 24/7 as if being in a relationship meant becoming connected like the friggin' human centipede. Starfish. For Christ's sakes, just do something. Not recognizing other women for their wins or positive qualities. You don't need to be better than everyone and everything. Using we split everything financially as a means to buy more crap at 50% off. Going anywhere near my phone. If another woman ever looks through my phone and I find out, I will literally toss them out the same day. I have zero use for any human who says they trust you but then needs to verify that by invading my privacy. Not respecting my alone time. Everyone needs time to themselves. Making me visit their relatives or a ludicrous amount more than them visiting mine. It doesn't have to be 50-50, but holy heck. 25 of a year versus 3.5 a decade is not acceptable. And the absolute most cringe, awful BS of all, removing all elements of surprise from a potential engagement by repeatedly asking and demanding to be married. Story 16. I had a casual lunch conversation with a female coworker today. She mentioned that she has this bad habit of deliberately going for guys who she thinks has red flags. She personally referenced bad communication to be a turn-on for her and that the guys who she had been with before who had all green flags are just boring. I guess that. And one more thing. If I have a zit or a blackhead and I'm telling you not to pop it, you don't pop it. I see the freaking puppy eyes and the desperation to squeeze it and it creeps me out. You know when toddlers get overexcited because their parents mention the word candy? and the child starts smiling and giggling while seemingly uncontrollably flailing their arms and quivering in their legs. Women that do this at the sight of a zit or a blackhead weird me the heck out. Story 17. Not bringing anything to the table, apart from their body and company, like they're some type of famous superstar that you have luck to be in company of, or they think they're a princess. I swear, one time I met a beautiful lady. 2 months after phone call and chat, we met, and all she was doing was giving me an interview like, so, if it's Valentine's Day, for example, where would you bring me? Something fancy? What would we do together? Like, what the heck? Get the heck out. And she had a kid. Told her I understand why she's a young single mother and why she's single for 2 years. And she didn't even tell me before she was a mom. All that is pathetic. I had another one that was thinking I was a walking wallet and a servant, like, I have a package to get from the post office. Can you pick it up? I had groceries to buy. Can you go for me? I know a cool restaurant there. Let's go tonight. And of course, she expected me to pay for everything every time. That is pathetic, really. So I blocked her after 3 dates. I shouldn't have done it after first. First date night we had intimacy, so maybe it was because of that. Lol. So yeah, basically those types of spoiled, disrespectful behavior and way of thinking towards us. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos like this. Story 18. They never take accountability for anything. And I mean truly take it to the chest. They could be wrong and still be condescending about something. I honestly think some women live in a different reality than the rest of us. Like, there's this stuck-up girl in my job who slept around to get hired and promoted, and she's rude as heck and unprofessional. I'll hear her gossiping to her girlfriends about how nobody's nice to her, blah, blah, blah. You're a disgusting lady when it comes to your demeanor. You're rude as heck, inconsiderate. You barely do your job. How could you possibly be asking that? I think the answer is they simply don't see anything wrong with avoiding feeling bad at any and every cost. Story 19. Creepy aunt vibes. I've never had a girlfriend or date put off these vibes, but I've encountered women who say or react specifically to young boys in a way that triggers a massive ick within me. To be clear, a woman saying a boy is cute or making a comment like, oh, he's going to be so popular with the girls when he grows up, does not, in and of itself, make me feel like they're putting out creepy aunt vibes. Those are statements I entirely recognize can be made innocently or playfully. What triggers me is less to do with what a woman says, but rather how some women react to seeing or being in the presence of young boys. A way that is hard to explain but is also glaringly obvious is just freaking creepy. I've seen women react in a way that I would describe as excited but also weirdly upsetting. Excited in a way that somehow feels manic or predatory. I don't know how to describe it properly, but I know it when I see it. And it gives me such a powerful, visceral ick that I usually don't ever want to interact with that woman ever again. Story 20. The whole obsession with men needing therapy. They're all obsessed with it. I've gone regularly since childhood as my parents really valued it. I'll ask women if they've gone and usually they're blindsided and have to admit they haven't. I've run into this several times and the hypocrisy is wild. My other big ick is pretending to enjoy intimacy for a few months or a year before suddenly getting comfortable with never having it again. And blaming it on this or that, and so you man up, take accountability, address dutifully before slowly realizing that those are just moving targets and this can never be fixed. But anytime you ask in any way, you'll be gaslit or told you only want them for intimacy. Then you're stuck with a gut-wrenching decision to break up with your best friend. Also used to be your lover too. Over a lifetime we were stuck with half of our relationship. The friendship, half. Story 21. I was really into this girl I'd worked with for a while. We went back to her place, and on the way, she intoxicatedly bragged about sleeping with all her friends and having competitions with them to see who could sleep with their boyfriends in the same room. My strong feelings for her vanished instantly. I think she genuinely liked me, but her confession made me feel so ordinary. It's funny. Sometimes when I get a bad feeling about someone, it's less about what they did and more about how incredibly foolish they could be to say something like that when we were just starting to connect. Another girl at work seemed to be flirting with me, but then she mentioned that she and another guy at work had talked about fooling around. Though they didn't go through with it because she's still a student. She flirts with everyone, so I'm not buying it. It just makes me feel like I'm just the next person she's briefly interested in. She's trouble and I'm not interested. Story 22. More just an everyday thing, but thinking cheating is okay because it was just physical. My ex cheated a lot. I found out pretty much immediately after we mutually broke up for unrelated reasons. And when I confronted her, she said, well, I loved you because you loved me so much. I don't have the connection with anyone else, but I'm young and felt like I should have been experiencing more. I was like, bro, what the heck? Just don't be in a relationship then? Like, it's so exceptionally selfish to basically trick someone into dating you so you can have emotional support while also leading a very active, intimate life without that person knowing. So anyways, that's basically the reason I now have extreme issues with trusting and letting people in my life. Story 23. Characterizing. I understand that everyone is guilty of this, but it especially gets me when my significant other conflates an issue that is going on right now into a problem with my character. It may very well be true at times, but once the conversation goes there, everything feels really hopeless. I see a pretty clear escalation from asking me to do the dishes to asking why I haven't done them, to asking why I never do the dishes, to asking why I never help her around the house, and finally calling me lazy. When all the beginning steps get skipped irrationally or just reach naturally, it feels like she has resentment already built up over this issue, and even if I go do the dishes, that is going to do very little to solve the problem. The problem now isn't that the dishes need to be done, it's that I need to change something about my character because I'm lazy. In the instance with the dishes, I'd have to remind myself that she means to just ask me to wash them. She might be overwhelmed with work and hates having to work around clutter to make her coffee. The problem is reasonable and solvable. I can stay in that headspace and problem solve, hopefully letting it bounce off me when she slips up a little. I say hurtful things sometimes too, and the world ended a couple years back, so I count my blessings. Story 24. I have two things. Granted, not all women do these, and some men do these things too, but regardless, I'm not a fan of the ones who do these things. I hate when some of them act overly energetic for no reason when everyone else is calm, and laugh at the slightest mistake they make like they're some master comedian. Especially when they practically fold themselves in half, laughing because they said something like, "I toast my burnt," instead of "I burnt my toast." I don't find it funny. I find it annoying, and I'm tired of forcing myself to laugh to be polite and not make the situation more awkward. I'm already a socially awkward guy, and I don't need my reputation to tank even more because some girl complained to her friends that I'm mean and rude. On that note, the other thing I hate is when some of them gossip about the smallest things and blow them out of proportion for no reason. I have Tourette syndrome, and some of my takes can give people the wrong impression. I don't need a group of girls spreading the rumor that I'm playing myself in public because they don't understand what is actually happening. Story 25. Yeah, some parts of toxic behavior are genuinely bad learned habits. I would like to think that most people are decent and will quit it when they realize another person actually feels bad about it, are mature enough to accept that they're capable of doing wrong anyway. And if you're dating someone who hasn't learned that yet, good luck. As for the real reason women do it, terrible socialization that hasn't matured past teen years. It's not even out of malice, it's just the norm. This is what people do. Can't you take a joke? It's a joke. This is how me and my friends laugh with each other. It's not consciously about seeking acceptance, but in reality, if the entire social circle thought it was bad, it'd stop quickly. It's years of circular reinforcement boiling down to these habits that are perceived as generally okay within the group, even if they aren't. It's not about social acceptance, because if it was, more people would stop. It's a genuine belief that this is just what people do, which is sad, and I hope they find better circles. What's toxic and something that can be forcefully shifted is a lack of willingness to learn and grow and accept wrongdoing. It's not worth the effort to try to make someone go through that, "Wow, I can be mean" maturity arc. It won't happen without some introspection on their part. Just move yourself away. Story 26. They don't hone their minds. It's usually off-putting for me. I'll get bored of that type, so I disengage. Another hard no is when a woman you don't really know wants you to pay entirely for a fancy meal. One of the little things that says, "Yeah, I don't care about you at all." The ones who don't want to work skeeze me out the most, though, and are often one and the same. Not being able to own a screw-up is huge, too, because I don't want some pile of yikes trying to gaslight me like they're Donald Trump if they do something off enough that it merits comment. Obvious fakes and adults who behave like children. I love to fall in love, honestly. That's not something most weirdos can fake, so it's pretty easy to curate the good from the bad. Story 27. Whenever you can clearly see that they're upset, had a bad day, or otherwise not in their normal state, and you ask, "What's wrong? Are you okay? Are you alright?" And you get a "nothing. It's fine, yeah" answer. I understand that sometimes you don't necessarily want to talk about your feelings, and that's totally okay. Had a rough day, but I don't want to talk about it or need some space. Or something similar is a good answer. The fake "fine" or "you should know" and similar is stupid and childish. I'm not going to play a guessing game with you. Not advocating for themselves or making their opinions known. If I ask, "Where do you want to eat?" or "What do you want to watch?" or "What should we listen to?" it's a genuine question. I am legitimately asking for your input, so whenever you say whatever or "I'm easy" or "I don't care," then you better freaking mean it. Story 28. I was hanging out with this woman I've known since elementary school. She was all over me. Constantly complimentary, cuddly, trying to get me to sleep over regularly. All of a sudden, I got sick, and she can't understand why I want to be homesick for a couple days. And when I finally start testing negative and reach out to see how she's doing, she immediately tells me she's back with her ex for the 20th time. It really throws it in my face. Quoting him, being extremely flowery with how great the visit from ex was. Then I start getting cluster headaches, and obviously I'm not saying much to anyone because my life is a nightmare with clusters. This switch actually blocked me to retaliate against my extremely unlucky run of crappy health, I guess. LMFAO. Story 29. Baby talking to the point of incoherence to pets and anything else they might find cute. That and not having at least some opinion on any given topic. I don't care about X, or I don't know because I've never thought about. I'm not talking like obscure or esoteric type things. I'm talking about like when someone says I don't care about politics or I don't care about religion or, big bun things like this. Because it just shows to me that they live such a privileged life that they never actually had to care about any of this. Or they don't spend much of their time doing much thinking. Story 30. Not sure if this has been mentioned yet, but when you go out of your way to make worthwhile plans, which they agree to, and they suddenly ignore you, won't answer texts or calls on the day or time of. Simple heads up would have been fine. I waited about an hour at my community college parking lot. She lived about a 5 to 10 minute drive from there before calling it quits. Original plan was to have a small picnic at a park or lake. I prepped some food and brought a few snacks and one of the drinks she liked, Arizona tea plus lemonade. I don't want the food to go to waste. Made some pretty excellent sandwiches that day. So I ended up trying to reach out to some friends or coworkers, slightly embarrassed. Met up with a coworker and vented for a minute. Then we went mini-golfing for a bit to clear off my mind. Another Rick...
Your middle tower is under attack.
Oo naman. Solo kill siya ng kalaban.
Your middle tower has fallen.
I step from the shadows. Indubitably. Caracas.
Mahirap. Oy, order.
Oh, yes.
Na makalapit dun. Kaya naman to late game.
By the power of Goroth.
Kaso nga lang kung pabayaan yung draw. Hindi tayo. Shadow late na to.
Fear me. Avowed.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Under pain of death. Attack. Encircling dark.
Ako ka, wala akong makagawa dyan.
Your bottom tower is under attack.
Sa pool. Ginawa ah. No AM. Ano ang gagawin? Farm ka lang? Uy! Sayang. AM mo kayo.
A new fire from the embers. By the power
Walang tanga. Ganda ka ng region eh.
Indubitably. Indeed. Core Mordakar. It's not time yet. Avowed. Oh, yes.
Lalaro lang yung MMR ko sa ano. 5-3, 5.
Fear me. Hear my word.
Roshan has fallen to the dark.
Korabos,
Immortality.
Koramord. At my command.
Natin talagang casting yun. Pinabilis na yung casting ng Shadow Word. Shadow Word AoE tayo. Just full AoE and...
Summon.
Oh, ka dyan. Iyak ka dyan. Oh, tulad niyan. Ano ba lang hapon niya yun, no?
Oh, yes.
Dire structures are fortified. The enemy's top tower is falling. Dire structures are fortified. Your bottom tower is under attack. Radiant structures are fortified. Your bottom tower is under attack. Your bottom barracks are under attack. Your bottom barracks are under attack.
You weren't meant to see.
Your
Such a
bottom
storm
barracks
mark.
is fallen.
The shadow.
Uy! Sayang, sayang.
Indubitably.
Gagawang AM eh. Bobo.
Karabos, Caracas.
Your middle tower is under attack. Radiant structures are fortified. Your middle tower has fallen. Your middle barracks has fallen. Your middle barracks has fallen.
Karamor, encircling dark. Karkor.
Well, what do you
Nine. Karakazan.
Wala kasing care.
Summoned forth.
Walang carry na ano. Dito nga maglalatag.
I command it.
Pathetic ka tuloy. Gago ka.
Gyre of evil takes you.
Ito naman ano. Jambang ko. Kasi nakatamoy sa tabi ko.
Your top tower has fallen. Your top barracks has fallen. Your top barracks has fallen. The enemy now has mega creeps.
Always wanted a pet queen.
Your middle tower has fallen.
This has no command over
Your
me.
middle tower is under attack. Your middle tower has fallen. Your ancient is under attack.
I'm your
Dire victory.
Comedy. Sira ulo ko. Comedy ka? Nyeta ka? Tana yung games ko dito, ano win-loss, win-loss. Mukhang divide lang talaga skill level ko, ganyan.